W234BH West Hazleton at 94.7, WVWX W242CY Berwick at 96.3, W282CO Bloomsburg at 104.3, and W288CF Danville at 105.5. Your home for Berwick Bulldogs football is Pop Radio, a Seven Mountains media station. WHLM Bloomsburg. We're less than an hour away from the kickoff of Berwick Bulldogs football on Pop Radio. Streaming online at thisispopradio.com. Brought to you by
Mason's Monogramming, Overhead Door Berwick, Mayo Funeral Home, State Farm, Sean Black and Lori Powell, by First Keystone Bank, by Red's Roofing, Neighbor Fence Company, Wolfie's Automotive, ND Accounting and Consulting, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling of Berwick, Master Tech Automotive Services, Eco First Logistics, by Ken Pollock, Journey Bank, Blaze Alexander GMC of Hazleton, Papa Lou's Place, The Compression Shop, and Cardinal Estate Planning.
It's time for the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Here is Jim Doyle.
Well, tonight the Bulldogs kick off the 2025 season on the road, taking on the Black Knights of Lake Lehman on the brand new black turf here at Eddie Edwards Stadium. Dogs will be looking to improve on last season's 4-7 record. Season ending with a 7-point loss to a very good Western Wayne team in the District 2 AAA quarterfinals. CJ, in this, our first show of the season, we're going to talk about what you learned about your team last season and what you expect from the team in 2025. But let's start with what you learned about yourself. It was your first season as a head coach and play caller. What did you learn? What do you want to be better at personally in year two?
For sure. Well, first off, thank you very much, Jim, for coming down and doing this, and thank you very much for your time here. Learned so much about myself from last year, and just learned so much about our staff and our program, and I think that the biggest thing was being able to adapt and that adaptability. As you look through it, going through our first 4 weeks of the season and starting 0-4, as we tried to do some things with our offense, and we were throwing the ball 20 to 25 times a game. Our great playmakers really weren't getting the ball in their hands. And so it was one of those things where, we understood, and I understood this isn't working. So it was the ability to adapt and just change our philosophy and our mindset and what we were doing. And obviously a big part of that was, you move Billy Hansen to quarterback and things start to improve. And then the big change was Tymer Wilkerson going from your wide receiver to playing tailback. And that kind of broke open our season a little bit. And so it was one of those things where, if it wasn't working, I couldn't, just have too big of an ego to say we just got to keep pounding away at it. It was changing it. It was adapting, and it was trying to put our players in the best position to be successful. Another part of that, I think, as an offense, from the offensive coordinator standpoint of it is, just understanding how to manage the game a little bit better. And I really thank my assistant coaches for helping me through that as well, especially Nick Dawson, who has a lot of experience doing that, here for several years for Berwick under Coach Carmen and Coach Bennett. But, it was one of those things where as it's, second down and 7 and I'm watching the play and it's over and I'm like, oh, nice play. And I'm like, oh, I have to call third down. So it was one of those things that going back in the offseason and watching film and just trying to find better ways to manage our personnel, be successful, and just continue to try to build our culture here, which I think our guys have done a great job with.
Well, after scoring a touchdown on your first possession in last year's opener, there was 11 straight quarters without scoring a single point on offense. But the second half of the season, the offense was much improved, mostly because, as you mentioned, the running of Ty Wilkerson, your top returner from last season. What turned it around for him and your offense?
I think Ty's such a team guy. It's awesome. And Ty would do anything that he can to help our team and to help them be successful. And so Ty didn't complain one time, when he wasn't getting the ball as much as he probably should have been. But, we just knew the type of guy that we had. He's coming off a District 2 gold medal in the 4x1 and the 100-meter dash, so he knew what kind of speed and what kind of home run ability that he had. And so it was one of those things where how can we get Tymer the ball 10 to 12 times a game? And it was put him in the backfield. And so, as the season progressed a little bit, he ended up getting the ball maybe 20 to 25 times, which is even better for us. But, Ty's just such a great kid, and he's worked so hard, and especially from last season to this season, he put on 10 pounds of pure muscle. He kept his speed. He's 6'1", 205. He still runs a 4.4, and he's really improved his football IQ. And so his body of work in the weight room and just from a football standpoint this offseason is really going to set him up to hopefully have a great senior year. And for us as coaches, it's understanding that, last year Ty was raw, and Ty kind of came out of nowhere. And so teams really weren't sure how they were going to be able to defend him. The only game he didn't go over 100 was against Western Wayne, against a very good team, as you mentioned before. But, it was our job for now to say all of these teams now have a year of Tymir, or 7 games and a full off season to make sure that they could try to break down defensively how they can contain Tymir Wilkerson. And so we had to get creative as coaches on what we plan to do, to try to continue to get him his touches, get him the ball, but use our other personnel in a way that makes our offense effective. And like you said, after that first touchdown, I thought, holy cow, this is going to be easy. And then you go 11 quarters without scoring. And so we know as an offense, we've talked about that all off season, that we really need to improve on that. And our guys aren't satisfied with how that was last year.
Well, most coaches will tell you the offensive success starts up front with the offensive line. That should be a strength, shouldn't it?
For sure. Absolutely. We're really, really excited about what our offensive line brings. And those guys know that we're going to hang our hat on them this year and how we try to game plan and go about this. And so, 2 of them are 2 seniors who are 4-year starters on the O-line, and J.J. Leonard and Matt Gordner. And I can remember a few years ago, we're up at Hazleton. I was coaching junior high at the time, and Hazleton beat us 20-0 to make it 4 straight years that Hazleton had won. And I remember as I coached those 2 guys in junior high and them coming off the field, and their heads were swimming. They were like, Coach, I don't even know what to do out here right now. They're just blitzing us. And to see their growth and their improvement, their strength improve, and their football knowledge and IQ and just their tenacity over these past 4 years, those 2 were primed to have breakout seasons, as well as fellow senior Draven Geiger, who's all 3 of those guys are in the 1,000-pound club, bench, squat, power clean in our weightlifting program. Mike Perry, who's a first-year starter at right tackle, 1,000-pound club. And then, our 2 centers who are battling, Nico Lonzinski and Henry Snyder. As long as Nico's healthy, he's a stud for us, and Henry's a young guy who's gotten better and better. So, we definitely have some great players, some great team guys, and those guys are confident going into this season.
Well, that group out front with Tymir Wilkerson, with Gavin Galusha, fine running back in his own right, obviously running the football should be a strength of this team, but everyone knows that on your schedule, and eventually you're going to have to throw the ball at least a little bit and do it effectively. It didn't happen last year. You tried 3 people. They combined for 40% completion, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Who's taking the first snap in this opener, and how confident are you in your passing game?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, it was definitely a struggle last year with that pass game. We have 2 quarterbacks on our roster right now, both of whom have worked extremely hard this offseason to get better. Our starter tonight is going to be Brady Cleaver. He's a freshman, number 10. And, Brady, he's a 1,000-pound club kid himself. As a freshman, he runs a 4.5 40. I'm extremely confident in Brady. And, Jim, we were talking before this interview, and his first reps of varsity against a different team was against the defending 3A state champion from last year at Northwestern Lehigh, and Brady didn't flinch in that. And so he continued to get better over the summer. He's learned the offense. He's correcting me in some spots when something doesn't get called in right. But just to have him as another threat in that backfield, along with Tymir, Galusha, Brock Sims, Everett Snyder, and he does a really good job throwing the ball too. He gets the ball out on time. He gets it to the right read, and he's effective and he's efficient. And so that's something that we really looked for in the scrimmage on this past Saturday against West Grant. Our backup will be Ashton Smith. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at some points, maybe if it's tonight or throughout the season. But Ashton's done an unbelievable job too, so I have to give him credit. He's been a great leader for us. He's done everything that he can to be ready for this opportunity as a senior, and he's going to help us defensively as well, Ashton will. And so I'm very confident in both of the quarterbacks, but Brady's going to get our first snap tonight.
Well, just like the offense, Bulldogs' defense got better and better as the season progressed, helping them to win 3 of their last 4 regular season games and holding a 9-1 Western Wayne team to just 7 points. Up next, CJ will tell us what he expects from Berwick's 2025 defense. You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio.
Hey, hometown fans. You know Journey Bank as your trusted local bank, but did you know we're also the biggest cheerleader for our community's youth? From athletes competing under the Friday night lights, to students excelling in the classroom, to talented teen stars singing center stage, we're investing in the future of our young people. At Journey Bank, we're committed to helping our kids score big in every aspect of life. Journey Bank, where dreams are nurtured and futures are built. Journey Bank, proud supporter of our local youth.
We've all been there, faced with a physical setback. Whether you've suffered a sports injury that takes you out of the game, or your aches and pains are keeping you from doing what you love, we all want the same thing, to get your life back. Thankfully, you can trust the region's only nationally ranked orthopedic team to help get you there. At Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute, we turn setbacks into comebacks, one movement at a time. Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute. Comebacks begin here.
You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Here with the coach of the Berwick Bulldogs is Jim Doyle.
Eddie Edwards Stadium, home to Lake Lehman football since 1962, is the venue for tonight's season opener as the Bulldogs take on the Black Knights of Lake Lehman. CJ, most of your coaching staff returns from last season, but your defensive coordinator, R.J. Hawes, did not return. Former Bulldog linebacker Tyson Kelly is the new defensive coordinator. And the assistant DC is Colton Sidler. Tell us about both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we hated to lose Coach Hawes. He's such a great guy, an infectious personality in our locker room, great relationship with the kids. But, you know, we're hoping to get him back at some point in the future when he decides to return to coaching. But we couldn't have gotten luckier with having these two guys on our staff, and Tyson Kelly and Colton Sidler. You know, Tyson and I have had a relationship since high school. Obviously, he being the former head coach at Holy Redeemer. He's a disciple of Coach Scott Dennis, who was my freshman football coach. You know, God rest his soul, and I know he's watching down on both of us as this season starts off here tonight. But, you know, Tyson just brings so much experience. He has experience coaching college football. He has experience playing college football. He has experience in offense, defense, as a head coach, as an assistant in special teams. And so he just brings so much to understanding the different philosophies that he knows from different offenses and what they bring. You know, we have the same kind of style of defense, and we agree on a lot of things, but it's also great to hear his opinions, and I think he's doing a great job. Now, Colton Sidler, it's his second year as a coach. He's a recent graduate from Bloomsburg University, played at Danville High School. He played for Coach Frank Sheptalk at Bloomsburg University as a linebacker, and you talk about a guy that is just always has it on. I mean, he brings the juice with him 24/7. He gets our guys fired up, and his knowledge for being such a young coach is incredible. And it's awesome to just kind of sit in here sometimes in my chair and kick back and listen to him and Coach Kelly go back and forth. It's incredibly entertaining, but you know, those guys know what they're talking about. And Coach Sidler has done more with our linebackers in one off season and in one camp than I think we got done all of last season as a whole. Our backers are playing very confident. Our backers are reading keys, and they're doing a really good job. And Sid loves it. I love him. He's doing a wonderful job. Teaches math at Berwick High School, so going from teaching math at Berwick then coming and coaching our backers, he's a pretty special guy.
Well, last season your defense held 4 of your last 5 opponents to 14 points or less. Can the 2025 Bulldog defense be just as good?
I believe so. You know, our whole thing is we can never get complacent with what we've done and who we are. And obviously last year, you know, you lose guys like Chase Shuckers, who's a 4-year starter. You lose guys like Billy Hansen and Julian Howie and Braden Schaefer and Gavin Jones, who were very helpful on defense. And so, you know, it's a whole new team. It's a whole new group of guys. But my belief with these guys is that they truly are bought into playing fast and relentless for 4 to 6 seconds, playing physical for 4 to 6 seconds, and then lining up and doing it all again. And these guys, especially, you know, starting in the secondary with Alex Estrella, he's the quarterback of our defense. He knows everything. He knows our checks. He gets guys in position. Our guys communicate well. I think one of our strengths is our defensive line, so we're expecting them to dominate the line of scrimmage and letting our backers make plays off of them. And so, you know, I think that we could certainly continue to build. And that last game against a Western Wayne team who had an unbelievable offensive line, a high-powered running offense, for our guys to play that tough against them. Obviously, it wasn't the outcome that we wanted, but I think that they drew a lot of confidence from that game and just continued to build on that. But, you know, we know it's all, nothing about last year matters. We're still 4-7, and we need to go prove it. So tonight, that's what we're going out there to prove.
Are you married to one particular alignment, or will be multiple.
We're going to see multiple things. We're going to try to see what the offense gives us, and if they're going to be more spread, we'll be in more of a 4-3. If they want to pack the box and try to run it, we're ready to drop down to a 5 front and play some 5-2 and get our strong safety involved in the run game as well. So I think that just depending on what teams give us, we want to stay multiple, and we want to be able to bring pressure. We want to change up our coverages, and we never want an offense to get too comfortable.
Special teams, Caleb Yost did a really nice job as a place kicker as a freshman, 23 for 26 PATs, 1 for 2 in field goals. He's going to do all your kicking.
Yes, he will, Jim. Yosti, he's a one-of-a-kind type of kid, and Yosti, as a kicker, one of the only kickers I've ever known to also be in our 1,000-pound club. Yeah, he's jacked. He loves the weight room, and he's really improved. And he's worked with Jerry McGroarty this entire offseason, who holds the single-season longest Pennsylvania long field goal for high school football in PA, 64 yards. And he's been down here working with Caleb, and he's really helped out Caleb. And so Caleb's gotten very good at punting. He's putting the ball where we're asking him to put it on kickoffs. He can get back to about that 45 to 48 yard range in field goals. And the one great thing about Yost is nothing rattles him. We have guys huddled around him when he's trying to kick during practice, and they're screaming and they're saying all this stuff. And Yosti has never not had a smile on his face, I think, in the couple of years I've known him. And so you could send him out for a game winner, and he'll just have that same smile. He'll stripe it through, and that's just Yosti for you. So very, very confident with him.
Well, tonight the Bulldogs open the season against Lake Lehman. Later in the show, CJ will tell us about the Black Knights. But up next, it's the Bulldogs Spotlight feature. You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio.
Hey guys, it's Ray and Pat from Blaze Alexander, Greater Hazelton on Route 93. What do we have?
What don't we have?
That's true. I was looking for 93, GMC, Rhymes. Every other car dealer rhymes. It sounds really good. But if you're in the market for a car, we got them.
We sure do, and we're not like all the dealers, so why would we try to be?
That's true. That is true. So listen, if you want a good time, if you want a good selection, come see us. We're 508 Susquehanna Boulevard, right down the block from the Laurel Mall, or check them out online at
BlazeGMHazelton.com.
Are your appliances feeling a little bit outdated? You looking for the best deals in town? Well, look no further than Flick Brothers Electric, your go-to family-owned appliance paradise. Flick Brothers Electric has all the top-notch name-brand appliances you could ever dream of. Washers, dryers, refrigerators, dishwashers, microwave stoves. They even give free estimates on Fujitsu ductless air conditioner heat pump units. Flick Brothers Electric on Maple Lane, keeping Bloomsburg cool, clean, and cooking for over 65 years. Call them at 570-784-
Lights to students excelling in the classroom. Nurtured and futures are built. Journey Bank, proud supporter of our local youth.
You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Here with the coach of the Berwick Bulldogs is Jim Doyle.
The Black Knights of Lake Lehman are tonight's season opening opponent for the Bulldogs for the second straight season. Last year, senior Caleb May. Caleb's 5'9", 165, a speedster who made his presence felt already in last Saturday's scrimmage with the great interception against West Scranton. CJ, besides his speed, what makes
skills are just so elite, and when they're regardless of the size of the receiver that he's who's a 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver. He held him to one catch. And then you have an all-state wide receiver in Sean Owens from Western Wayne. He holds Sean to one catch and has an interception against Western Wayne. So he's just continued to improve. He understands just his football IQ of where to be on the field. And that's just some things that you just can't teach. And Caleb May just has those intangibles of what a defensive back has to do to be successful. He's great in zone. He's great in man. He's great at pass breakups, and he can catch the ball too. And so, really excited for what Caleb's going to bring us defensively, but Caleb's going to play some offense for us this year too as well. He's another one of those guys who was on the district gold medal 4x1 team on our track team, along with Tymir and Alex Estrella. And so, he can fly. So we're going to play him as our slot receiver. He's going to get touches in the pass game. He's going to get touches in the run game. He's one of our returners. And then, ultimately, Caleb's a great kid. And his teammates understand that. His teammates voted him as a member of our leadership council, which is, the top 6 guys on our team who receive votes, represent our team, and they're direct conduit between the locker room and myself. And so that just goes to show how much respect Caleb has from his teammates, that he does everything right. He didn't miss a day this summer, didn't go on vacation. Even when I was out on vacation, Caleb was here working, so he had a better attendance percentage than the head coach did this summer. So I'm very proud of him, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this year, especially since last season his junior campaign was cut short due to some injuries. But another sign of his toughness, he played a game and a half on a broken foot, and that just goes to show as a DB and a wide receiver to still be successful playing on one foot is pretty impressive as well.
In the Bulldog spotlight, senior Caleb May. Caleb and his Bulldog teammates open the 2025 season tonight on the road against Lake Lehman. Up next, CJ will tell us what he expects from the Black Knights offense. You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio.
Jim Doyle and the Berwick Bulldogs head coach CJ Curry. Brought to you by
Mason's Monogramming, Overhead Door Berwick, Mayo Funeral Home, State Farm, Sean Black and Lori Powell. By First Keystone Bank. By Red's Roofing, Neighbor Fence Company, Wolfie's Automotive, ND Accounting and Consulting, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling of Berwick, Master Tech Automotive Services, Eco First Logistics. By Ken Pollock, Journey Bank, Blaze Alexander GMC of Hazleton, Papa Lou's Place, The Compression Shop, and Cardinal Estate Planning.
You'll only find the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio and streaming online at thisispopradio.com.
Start your summer adventures at Ken Pollock Ford during the Ford Summer Sales event. Experience the joy of worry-free driving this summer with 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for up to 90 days on select models from America's top-selling brand at Ken Pollock Ford. Plus, get 2 years of complimentary maintenance on your new Ford vehicle. More road trips, less worries. Ken Pollock Ford, your locally owned 2024 Ford President's Award winner, Route 11 Berwick. An experience worth the drive. See dealer for complete details. Subject to credit approval. Offer expires 9/2/25.
We've all been there, faced with a physical setback. Whether you've suffered a sports injury that takes you out of the game, or your aches and pains are keeping you from doing what you love, we all want the same thing, to get your life back. Thankfully, you can trust the region's only nationally ranked orthopedic team to help get you there. At Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute, we turn setbacks into comebacks, one movement at a time. Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute. Comebacks begin here.
You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Here with the coach of the Berwick Bulldogs is Jim Doyle.
Tonight's season opener here at Eddie Edwards Stadium is the 7th meeting between Lake Lehman and Berwick. Bulldogs lead the series 4-2, but the Black Knights have won the last 2, including 13-7 in last season's opener at Crispin Field. CJ, just like last season, Lake Lehman has nice size in the offensive line. From tackle to tackle, they average 256 a man. They have 3 seniors. How good are they up front?
Incredibly talented, incredibly tough kids, and those guys got better as the season went on last year. And so we know truly that this week one's going to be a battle in the trenches. We're very confident with our offensive and defensive line, and I know Coach Gilski is very confident in their offensive and defensive line. As they bring back 4 starters, 5 who played for them last year, those guys are going to be tough. And, Lake Lehman's always an incredibly tough opponent. Our guys know that, our guys understand that, but our guys also understand that, like you just said, Lehman's won the last 2 against us. The first time they've ever beaten Berwick was a few years ago on the black turf, so it's our first return there since then. And then last year, obviously, was the heartbreaker that we had here that our guys have talked about constantly over this offseason. So we know, Coach Gilski's got a great program. He and his coaching staff do an unbelievable job with those guys, and we know that they'll be ready. So we're expecting a great battle, and I don't think that this one's going to disappoint tonight.
Their starting tailback is number 34, senior, Jaden Skipowis. What can you tell us about him?
Jaden's great. Jaden didn't get to play against him last year. He transferred from Hanover last year and had to sit the first couple games, so we didn't get a chance to see him, but we're able to watch him over the last few games of the season last year. And talk about a kid, I believe he's 6'1", 6'2", 215 pounds. He's got great speed. He's got great agility. He's very quick on his feet and shifty, but he also can break tackles. So we're going to have to be able to contain him and tackle. And if one guy gets on him, we have to swarm to the ball and get white helmets with blue paw prints to the ball when Jaden carries the football. He's got great size, great speed, agility, but he's not afraid to put his shoulder down. And behind that offensive line, that's where it truly will be. Like I said, it's going to be a battle up front and who can tackle.
They list a fullback in their starting lineup. Will we see a lot of eye?
We think that they'll do a little bit of everything. As we went through some of their games last year, they're very multiple on their offense as well. So, they'll run some 21 personnel with the eye. They'll run some 11 personnel with a tight end and 3 wide receivers. They'll run power eye. They'll run, a 2x2 set with a bunch of jet motion and trying to counter us off of that. So, they have a ton of things in their offense, and they've gone empty. They've gone power eye. So they've done a ton of different things that we have to be prepared for. And so, I think that we just have to be ready for whatever and be able to adjust to it.
Their quarterback is a junior, Tony Magnotta. They have a veteran wide receiver in Jake Evans. Are they a passing threat?
I believe so. Definitely with Jake Evans, just seeing him, I saw him when we were at the WVC Media Day at Wilkes-Barre High School, and you look at him and just think, dang, man, this kid's put together. He's 6'2", 185. He can go up and get the ball. He did it last year. Very effective in their pass game. And then their other wide receiver, Alex Smith, who caught some steam at the end of the season last year, was very effective in their pass game as well. And so, regardless of what the quarterback situation is, it kind of sounds like what we're going through. We're going to have a new one. They're going to have a new one. And so I'm sure that, based on his summer and his off season, that they've done a lot. And to have a target like Jake, I believe it's definitely going to be helpful for them. So we can expect them to run the ball and throw the ball. And we just have to remember to stay disciplined.
So based on what we've said about their entire offense, what are the keys for your team defensively?
I think it's to control the line of scrimmage. We have to make sure that we can contain Skipowis. I think that we have to keep him inside the box. I think that we have to tackle well. And I think that, as they do that, we have to be prepared for them to try to lull us to sleep, with a play action and getting the ball to Evans. And we have to just make sure we understand their concepts that they like to throw, as an offense. And we have to stay disciplined, understand our coverages, no coverage breakdowns, great reads by our backers. And once again, I think that it all is going to come down to who's going to win the battle on the line of scrimmage.
Up next, CJ will give us his scouting report on the Lake Lehman defense. You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio.
Start your summer adventures at Ken Pollock Ford during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Experience the joy of worry-free driving this summer with 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for up to 90 days on select models from America's top-selling brand at Ken Pollock Ford. Plus, get 2 years of complimentary maintenance on your new Ford vehicle. More road trips, less worries. Ken Pollock Ford, your locally owned 2024 Ford President's Award winner, Route 11 Berwick. An experience worth the drive. See dealer for complete details. Subject to credit approval. Offer expires 9/2/25.
You're listening to the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Here with the coach of the Berwick Bulldogs is Jim Doyle.
The Bulldogs will be trying to end a program negative streak tonight. Their season opener here at Lake Lehman. Dogs have not won a season opener since 2019. To get a win this evening, they'll have to produce more offense than they did in last season's 13-7 season opening loss to the Black Knights at Crispin Field. CJ, defensively, what kind of looks can we expect to see from Lake Lehman?
For sure, yeah. Lake Lehman's got 2 different looks that I believe that they're going to give us. Coach Gilski, it looks like, has transitioned to a bit of a 5-2 this year, whereas last year they were a 4-4. But, I think that we could see any multitude of both of those defenses, especially with, having a guy like Tymir and understanding his speed to the edge. I think that their 4-4 is kind of a better defense to try to stop him from getting to the outside, using those 2 outside linebackers to set the edge a little bit more than you have in a 52, where your 2 defensive ends are the ones that are doing that. So I expect them to be multiple in that as well. I expect them to change it up. Knowing that we have a first-year quarterback, I expect them to give us some pressure and see how we handle that. So, our offensive line has worked very hard all week to pick up blitz, to identify defensive fronts, and for our guys to just communicate call. But, we know who we are, they know who they are, and it all comes down to, we talk about this to our guys. Everybody runs a 4-4. Everybody everybody can run a 5-2. Everybody's got power. Everybody's got ISO. Everybody's got counter. It's who runs it better. It's what teams are going to execute, what teams believe in each other to do it, and are willing to battle through adversity for each other and just keep grinding for 48 minutes. And I think that's going to be the team that comes out on top.
You mentioned the word pressure earlier. Would you describe their defense as attacking or read and react?
I think it's a little bit of both. As we saw last year, there were times, especially in second and third and short situations, they were bringing, 2 inside linebackers blitzing, and they would mix up their pressures with an outside backer coming. So I think that, when they blitz, they bring it, and, you can see if it's a passing situation or just depending on how the flow of the game is going, their backers are very good at reading, taking the run reads first and then getting back into coverage. And so, I think that they're a little bit of both as well. I think they do a lot of things very, very well, and they're going to be multiple in everything that they do.
This is a great time of year. Everybody is undefeated.
Absolutely.
CJ, thanks for your time, and good luck in continuing to be undefeated after this one.
Thank you very much, Jim. We hope so too.
Join us again next Friday for another edition of the CJ Curry Show prior to the home opener against Mid-Valley at Crispin Field. Stay tuned now for Berwick at Lake Lehman football here on Pop Radio.
This has been the CJ Curry Show on Pop Radio. Next, we go live to the press box with Jim Boyle and Andy Ulick.